The laughter echoed through the crystalline halls of the Galactic Senate, a sound that made Engineer Sarah Chen's jaw clench as she stood in the viewing gallery. Below, Ambassador Harrison was presenting humanity's application for full membership, his voice steady despite the obvious mockery from the assembled alien delegates. "Humans," wheezed Senator Vextar through his breathing apparatus, his tentacles writhing with amusement. "A species that hasn't even mastered antimatter containment wants to sit among the stars' children?" The Zephyrian delegate's metallic voice rang out next. "They still use chemical propulsion, primitive fusion at best. How quaint!" Sarah's knuckles whitened as she gripped the railing. 3 years of engineering school at Mars Tech, 2 decades working on the most advanced human vessels, and they called her species primitive. The worst part? They weren't entirely wrong. Humanity's fastest ships barely reached 0.3 C, while the Senate's flagships could fold space itself. "The motion to deny humanity's application is seconded," announced the ethereal chancellor, its voice like wind chimes in a cosmic breeze. "Perhaps in another millennium, when they've learned to harness gravity itself." The vote was unanimous. 47 species against, 0 in favor. As the delegates filed out, chattering about their dinner plans and trade negotiations, Sarah remained frozen in place. She watched the massive displays showing the Senate's pride, the infinite majesty, a dreadnought the size of Manhattan that could unmake solar systems with its quantum disruptors. Impressive, isn't it? Sarah turned to find a familiar face, Captain Torres from the human delegation. His expression was grim. "They're not wrong about our technology," Torres continued. "That ship could vaporize our entire fleet without breaking stride." "Maybe," Sarah said quietly. "But there's something they don't understand about humans." "What's that?" Sarah's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "We don't need to be stronger. We just need to be smarter." That night, in her cramped quarters aboard the human diplomatic vessel New Horizon, Sarah spread out holographic displays across every surface. Ship schematics, energy signatures, quantum field equations, everything she'd observed during their week-long diplomatic mission. The aliens had been so confident, so condescending, they'd given the human delegation full tours of their facilities. They'd even let Sarah examine their engineering systems, treating her like a curious child rather than a potential threat. They'd made a mistake. Sarah's fingers flew across the interfaces, cross-referencing power-coupling specifications with gravitational field generators. The infinite majesty was indeed a marvel of engineering, but it was also a machine, and every machine had vulnerabilities. There, hidden in the elegant complexity of their space-folding technology, was a resonance frequency that could theoretically cascade through their entire power grid. The aliens had never considered it because their own weapons couldn't generate the precise harmonic needed, but human weapons weren't alien weapons. Working through the night, Sarah retrofitted one of the New Horizons mining charges, crude by galactic standards but precisely tuned for this specific purpose. Not to overpower the infinite majesty's shields, but to sing to them at exactly the right frequency. The next morning, the human delegation prepared to depart in shame. The Senate had scheduled a demonstration of their military might, a show, of force to remind the galaxy why they remained in charge. The infinite majesty would flex its power, reducing an abandoned asteroid to quantum foam. "This is what real civilization looks like," Senator Vextar announced, as his species' holographic displays showed the massive dreadnought powering up its primary weapons. In the observation deck, Sarah quietly activated her modified charge. The tiny device, no larger than a coffee mug, began broadcasting its simple signal, a specific sequence of electromagnetic pulses that meant nothing to the sophisticated alien sensors. Just background noise from primitive human technology. But deep within the Infinite Majesty's quantum cores, those pulses found their target. At first, nothing seemed wrong. The great ship charged its weapons as planned, its space-folding engines humming with barely contained power. The asteroid waited, unaware of its fate. Then the resonance began. It started as a barely perceptible vibration in the ship's power couplings. The safety systems registered it as normal operational variance, but the frequency was precise, calculated, and it began to amplify itself through the ship's own energy grid. Within seconds, the vibration became a harmonic cascade. Power fluctuations raced through the Infinite Majesty like wildfire, each quantum field generator feeding back into the next. The space-folding technology that was the ship's greatest strength became its weakness as the resonance found every coupling, every connection, every carefully balanced field. The explosion was beautiful in its way, a flower of pure energy that briefly outshone the local star. Where the Infinite Majesty had been, only expanding plasma remained. The silence in the Senate chambers stretched for several heartbeats. How? The ethereal Chancellor's voice had lost its musical quality, becoming a harsh whisper. Sarah stood, up in the observation gallery, no longer hiding. "You asked how humans could sit among the stars, children," she said, her voice carrying clearly in the shocked silence. "The answer is simple. We don't need to fold space or harness quantum foam. We just need to understand that every system has a frequency that will tear it apart." She paused, looking down at the stunned alien faces. "You taught us yours. The emergency." Session that followed lasted 18 hours. When it ended, humanity had its full membership in the Galactic Senate, along with a new role as chief engineering advisors on defensive systems. After all, if one human engineer could destroy their most powerful ship with what amounted to a sophisticated firecracker, they needed to know what else humanity might be capable of. The galaxy had learned an important lesson that day. Never underestimate a species clever enough to turn their own technology against them. In the vast cosmos, sometimes the most dangerous weapon wasn't the biggest gun, it was the engineer who understood how all the pieces fit together. And humanity, it turned out, was very good at taking things apart.